So I've been in education for a while, and I've said it. I've heard other teachers say, I'm not an entertainer. And this is my take on that. Now, while it's true, I am guilty of saying that. I think that was a while ago, where it was my mindset that, my job was not to get up and entertain the class. It was just strictly content, only content. I'm here for you to learn. And, over the course of time, I've sort of changed my philosophy and my mindset about that. And while it's true, my primary function is not to get up in front of the class and simply entertain students. My job is to educate. It should be done in, a fashion that's a little bit fun, a little bit engaging. And I felt at some point saying things like, I'm not an entertainer, was just an excuse for me to kind of go into just lecture mode. And then if they didn't understand it well, that was on them. And the more that I thought about it, the more I started thinking about what kind of classroom that I like to be in, what kind of classrooms and meetings do I want to be in. I certainly don't want to be in a classroom or a meeting that is boring, for a lack of a better term. Something where it's only, turn to page this and read it during a meeting, or, here's a slide up on the screen that I'm going to read word for word. I mean, it's not very engaging. It doesn't pique my interest. And if it doesn't do that for me as an adult, what makes me think that it's going to do it for them as students? And again, I go back to myself, a younger version of myself, thinking, well, they're going to have to learn how to do it anyway. They have to. They're going to have to do this. They're going to experience this in college. And while that might be true, at some point I felt it's not an excuse for me to be uninteresting, to bore them, to have a lesson that's not engaging. Just because somebody else down the road might have a boring, unengaging lesson, that's not a reason for me to do the same. And so I started changing my philosophy. I started thinking about, okay, how can I make my lessons more engaging, fun, interesting? And it's not that every moment is this magical, wow, we're so engaged. No, we have content to work on. There are things I need to lecture about. There are things we need to read about. And I tell my kids all the time, this is a college prep class. And so it'd be a disservice to you if I didn't show you how to read a science textbook, how to decode that science textbook. But I'm also not going to do that every day. Come in, read pages 1 through 10, answer these questions. Okay, read pages 2 through 30, answer these questions. Very boring, very disengaging, and I wouldn't want to be in a class like that. So I would want to be in a class or a meeting that piques my interest, that keeps me engaged. And yes, I understand that there are these pieces, like I said, we're going to have to read at some point, but it shouldn't be all the time. Or, yes, you are going to have to present some stuff on the screen, but it shouldn't be all the time. And I think my kids can appreciate when they see me making an effort to try to make the content more engaging. And really, at the end of the day, it's just more fun for me. Like, if I see my students having a good time and they're engaged learning, then I'm going to have a positive, vibe coming off. And then they're going to feel that positive vibe. And then I'm going to feel it because they're feeling it. Versus having this sort of negative back and forth where, I used to deliver something that was not that engaging and they weren't engaged, and then I was kind of like, well, you should be more engaged, and it was this back and forth of negativity. Now it's not quite like that. And so I think it's important to be intentional, to think about the lessons that you're delivering. Try as best you can to make it engaging. And like I said, not everything is super engaging. But like, for example, I did a unit on latitude and longitude, and that could be super boring. But just in looking and thinking of ideas, I ran across this battleship idea of, hey, play a game of Battleship, because really that's all Battleship is. It's fighting, a position this way and then a position this way, and that's what latitude longitude is. And my kids had a fantastic time doing that. I mean, that's one of the activities they remembered the most. It helped the content stick. You can make these things interesting. Bringing things in that make it competitive or game-like, whether you're using Quizlet Live or Kahoot or quizzes. That level of engagement where you get them to talk to each other about the content. They're going to guess at some things. They're going to laugh at getting some things wrong, and it's okay, especially if it's in the beginning. You're learning, you're engaging, you're talking, you're having a good time. And so I agree. No, I am not paid to be your entertainer, but it doesn't give me the excuse to not be entertaining and have a good time and have fun and be engaging when I can be, so long as the end product is you as my student learning something. I mean, I think that's the end goal. So my mindset has changed over the last couple of years. Think about it. If you're still maybe more in that old mindset I used to be in, play a Quizlet Live game or a Kahoot game. Think about how a project or a lesson could be made a little bit more interactive, a little bit more collaborative, and it'll pay off in the end. And a lot of things I did in the beginning to make things engaging were total failures. But it allowed me to tweak things over time. It allowed me to change things and make things better. Up to a point where, at least half of the things that I do are engagement type activities. They're learning. They're having a good time. And I can see that, and it's made a world of difference in how I see the classroom. And at some point, I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to do a little bit of research, a little bit of digging. There's plenty of resources out there, but I think it's good for the kids to see that. Every day they come in learning about science, I'm asking them to get outside of their comfort zone, get out of their norm. So I think it's fair. If I expect that out of them, then I should expect that out of myself. And it really has made a huge difference. So hopefully that helps you out, and I'll see you next time.